Meeting of the Yreka Chamber of Commerce to order. All please.
Chamber of Commerce?
City
What
Council.
did I say? Yreka City Council. Danielle, please don't put that. Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance for the Yreka City Council meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
This one city council meeting and then you've changed where.
I know. Well,
What's that, Wayne?
you know my
This one
history.
city council meeting.
All right, welcome everybody. We've got a nice crowd tonight. That's always good to see. Okay, so public comments. Everybody find their seats and settle down. And by the way, turn your phones on off, please. Liz always reminds me to say that. Sometimes I forget. Thank you, Liz. Please silence your cell phones. This is the time for public comments. Council may ask questions but may take no action during the public comment section of the meeting except for to direct the staff to prepare a report or place an item on a future agenda. If you are here to make comments on a specific agenda item, you may speak at this time. If not, this is the time. If you are here to make comments on a specific agenda item, that's what it says. Yes, if you want to speak on anything, now is the time. If not, this is the time. Please limit your remarks to 3 to 5 minutes. Anyone have a comment to make on an item that's not on the agenda? Wow, what a quiet group. Okay, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry.
Chief.
Make it quick. I know you got a lot on your plate this evening, so I'll keep it short. I just wanted to, Madam Mayor, thank you, keep the council informed on kind of what's been going on with our station. You might have heard we had our own little pool for a little bit. There was some water issue.
Yeah.
So thanks to Matt and his crew for jumping on it and getting it done. But the concern is what's going to happen down the road, you know, if we don't go forward, which I know we are. We have some things that I've talked to Paul and Red about with some grants that may be out there. It's tough to get fire grants for stations, but it's there. There is some money there. I just kind of want to urge you to kind of keep looking into that, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you have, you know, if that goes forward. So my thoughts were if that was to happen in the wintertime and we had to keep engines in inclement weather, you know, you worry about freezing up and not being able to use them, scrambling to find another place temporarily. So we all know it's time, and I just want to kind of remind you that things still are occurring that are detrimental to our operation. It's been smooth working with Matt and his crew and Ben and so forth, but anyway, it's just an old building, as you well know.
My only question would be, is it fixed? Your hole in your bay?
Matt can probably speak more to that than I can. The water line's fixed, but
Okay.
the other part that ended up being large, call it a sinkhole, it really wasn't a sinkhole. It was a large depression that got, the water leak caused it to wash the soil away, and it's fixed, right? It's just, they're letting it settle, letting it compact on its own. So it's gonna be concreted soon, and we'll be back whole again, but the worry is that when's the next, which is twice now, so when the next one happens, where's it gonna be? And, you know, something happens with all the buildings that we've experienced in town, they all settle somewhat mind tailing, so. In addition to that, another informational thing to pass on is our call volume has not slowed down. We're approaching 1,000 calls just barely over 6 months, and it's another new high. I don't have an explanation for it other than been a lot of bogus calls that, you know, don't have the ability to try to change. We're working on them as we can, but anyway, that hasn't slowed down. So I urge you that you're on the right track for addressing that with paid personnel, and you know, I don't see that slowing down.
I got a
Yes,
question that's kind of directly, indirectly. Recently I heard that there was a fire up above Greenhorn Park area.
Correct.
And do we know what the cause of that is?
Do not. CAL FIRE was actually a state responsibility area, and they investigated, and they have not relayed back to me what the cause was. A lot of it got destroyed, the evidence got destroyed as they went in and put the fire out, that's what I was told. So I have gotten an update on that, so I think they left it as undetermined. There were some allegations that, you know, can't really get into because it can't be substantiated. Unfortunately, but we can all draw our conclusions as to what
That's
that
what
might
I was
be.
afraid of. yes.
Okay, I have a comment too, but Norm?
Are there any specific grants that you can apply for fire station? Have you come across any yet?
That was included in the long list of possibilities that I passed on an email to Paul, because he stopped me on the street and questioned me about what we can do in the future. through CDVG and also the same CDFA through the ag department was the same. So the gentleman, I think Retta has a good contact on that. So those were both the two that were mentioned that would be good, up to $3 million. So
Really?
that would
For
be-
CDBG?
Correct.
I thought that was 500,000 max.
They have changed that recently.
Okay.
But that was for the application packet was for 2018, but you can go again into 2019, I believe, for the next year. So there's money available.
Okay,
Potentially.
good,
We
good
need to
know.
apply for it.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Jerry, on the fix that you have right now, did the building have like problems about a year or two ago where that you also had to have city come in and?
It's been probably,
Harder
it was
than
during Alan Jones's terms, probably 6 to 7 years.
Okay, it's been that
It's been a
long.
while, yeah, it's been
Okay,
5,
yeah.
6 years. We thought it was more recent too, but it's been quite a while ago.
A similar type of issue?
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't remember all the details, Matt can probably explain it better than I can.
No,
It was
it's-
the same type of a deal with water leaking and causing an undermining of the station, so
Yeah.
anyhow.
No, I just wanted the timing. Thanks.
And I also wanted to express my appreciation, because I know you do a lot of medical calls.
Yes.
And I just want you to know how much we appreciate you having you there. I certainly do.
Sure.
But I also, I don't know if you know this, but Steve and I went to meet with the commander, is that his name, of CAL FIRE, about the number of medical calls. And it seems that that won't be able to be changed unless we buy them new equipment.
Right, the term just slips my mind, but right, the emergency dispatch protocols.
Right. They showed us how it works, and it's antiquated,
Mhm.
and they'd like new equipment, but they can't afford it, so they'd like for us to buy them new equipment.
Did they have an idea of what it costs though?
We don't have an exact figure, no.
Because it might be a possibility to have a shared cost between sheriff's department, county, all the cities involved. Might be a shared.
That may be something that could be included on a separate grant too, I don't know.
Right.
You don't know
So,
until you ask.
let's put this on a future agenda item, and we
Appreciate
can
it.
talk about it.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you,
That's all
Jerry.
I have, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief, for all you do. Okay, anyone else with that would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none. Okay, discussion, possible action, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion or a member of the audience wishes to comment on an item. City manager recommends approval of the following consent calendar items. A, approval ratification of payments issued from June 20th through July 18th, 2019. Excuse me. Approval of minutes of the meeting held June 20th, 2019. C, adopt resolution approving destruction of certain Yreka Police Department records. D, adopt resolution approving destruction of certain Finance Department records. And E, acceptance of treasurer's report and budget to actual for the month of April 2019. Any comments or motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the consent calendar, pass the consent calendar as listed.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, motion carries. Item number 2, discussion of possible action. Adopt a resolution approving the application for statewide park development and community revitalization program grant funds for the Ringy Pool and Park renovation project. And I see a lot of gray Let's Swim Again t-shirts here. I know most of you are here for that. We've been working really hard on that. You guys have done a great job.
Yes.
So,
So,
city manager.
yes, Mayor, members of the council, you may have heard that we've been working on a pool grant.
Yeah,
And
we've
as you
heard.
pointed out, a lot of the people in the audience have worked very hard on that. So the grant application is due August 5th. While we theoretically have another meeting before that, we don't like to put it off at the last minute. That's when you make mistakes on grant applications, and also the team that's putting it together really doesn't want that kind of stress. So tonight is the night.
Right.
We've placed in your packet not a lot of information. There is sort of a description of Prop 68, which provides the funding. I was under the impression that this may have been the first round of funding under Prop 68.
I think it's the second.
There actually have been 2 previous rounds.
Oh, is it third?
About 15% of the applications are approved. One was a little under 14%, one was a little over 15%. When you look at the total amount applied for, it was closer to a 10% ratio, because, you know, some of the applications are more money and some are less. The previous cap in rounds 1 and 2 was $5 million. They raised that to $8.5 million, which is actually what we're looking for in the grant. Since this agenda item was put together, there have been some discussions about changing the items in the grant application to try to have a retractable pool cover, and I think that probably I should let Robin talk about that and the process. And there's been a great deal that's gone into this with public participation and a lot of research, but at the end of the day, there's still, these are estimates. You know, until you design everything and put it in there, it's hard to know exactly what it is. So, anyway, so in fact, maybe so on the back page of your agenda item, it kind of goes through the main things. So renovate the swimming pool, build a new building for the pool, because one without the other doesn't really work. Renovate a playground and picnic area, renovate a Little League field, construct a new side entrance to the park, construct a non-motorized ADA compliant path, basically an ADA path. I like the non-motorized part. Putting some security park cameras in the park, lighting in the park, and then landscaping and irrigation. Down below, you'll see a number that says total estimated pre-construction cost. That actually is two things. One is exactly what it says, pre-construction costs, all the architects, engineer, whatever else you've got to do in advance. But the other part is a contingency. And for purposes of the form, we put them both together. We will be breaking those out separately and around 50-50 on each, something like that. So we'll get to that. Robin, do you want to get up and talk?
Robin, come, bring us up to date. And Robin, for those of you that don't know, she has really led this effort. A lot of people have helped a lot. But Robin, we sure appreciate all of your volunteer work.
Oh, thank you. So I have some prepared remarks, and then we can go in and answer questions.
Okay.
Because
That's
I've
good.
been thinking about this a lot, and I prepared like a little speech. It's not very long. But anyway, first off, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. This has been a really fun effort, and these guys are terrific to work with. It's been really fun. So I have some general comments about the project, some specific needs I think that were identified by the community. My thoughts for kind of the future about how we're doing this, because I know that people are nervous about that. And then I can answer some questions, particularly about the retractable structure. And I think a few other people, particularly Mary, has some information. First, we really appreciate your support of the efforts to rebuild the Yreka pool and improve the park. It's wonderful to see all of you attend the community meetings and participate in the discussions. And it was very impressive to witness really how well everyone listened to each other and had such great ideas. It was a fun time. In the big picture, I think we should view this project as a key part of a vision for revitalizing our community. For too long, I think Yreka has been what I call a can't-do community in many ways, because we're worried about risk and what might be involved in doing something like this, a big project. Instead, I think we should view Ringing Pool and Park as a wonderful opportunity and not as a risk. It's worth it. It will be used by so many of our residents, the kids learning to swim and compete, others using it for low-impact exercise, and everyone having fun. Yreka City Councils in the past have taken risks to improve what we're doing, working to make tomorrow better than today, be it a great source of water for the city, or a park like Greenhorn, or water storage tanks to assure we have a ready supply. You were all mindful of the future, and that's wonderful. Although having a pool might not be as important as a water supply or a park like Greenhorn, it demonstrates everyone that you care. Second, specifically about the project with respect to it, and you all know because you attended those community meetings, the residents want the new pool, the new building, and the pool enclosure to allow extended use, as well as some items to improve the park, particularly the Little League area. Those are kind of the top four that bubbled up. The top three big expenses are the ones that we would have great difficulty fundraising for locally and really fit most appropriately into this grant. I would recommend that we focus on these big three and the Little League improvements and then look to other means of addressing some of the needs we can't afford with the $8.5 million budget. And as Steve pointed out, there's going to be lots of competition. You know, if it's 1 in 10 or 1 in 12 that get funded, that's pretty stiff competition. I feel strongly that to have that enclosure is important for the success of the grant, as it extends the use of the pool from 10 weeks to 6 months possibly or more. And I think that will make us more competitive in doing that. Lastly, I would like you to understand there is a large group of us who are future oriented and will continue to work to make certain the means are available for maintenance and operation. That was the very first thing I heard at the very first pool meeting I went to, is how are we going to support it in the long term? And I understand that. But look, we all got like T-shirts and we're all ready to go. And you really have a big community. I mean, like I said, getting people to walk and knock on doors, you know how hard that is? And we knocked on 1,000 doors just to tell people about a public meeting, for heaven's sakes. So I think we can get the community behind this. I think we have the enthusiasm and the support, and certainly I'm willing to be a cheerleader, and I think there's a lot of other, I wasn't technically a cheerleader, but I think there's a lot of other cheerleaders here too. So we are working on the development of Parks and Recreation Board, which would get some, and this process is continuing. Certainly it's been a learning opportunity on LAFCO and how districts are formed, and our time frame has changed, and we're on Plan C as opposed to A and B, so we may go even to D or E, but we're going to continue to work on it and make sure that by the time the pool is built in 2022, we have the ability to support it, because I think that's a really important thing. And we're committed to making, to the city to make this happen and provide what you need. And I think we have the time to do it now. If we happen to get the grant in December, it's still, the pool's not there in December, it's not there for a while, so we have some time. Anyway, just to summarize, I think Yreka residents need and deserve what's best for our community. Many of us feel ringing pool and park improvements would be a terrific addition. I think the focus of the grant should be on these big ticket items, although they're a little scary, I understand that. The pool, the building, and the enclosure, and then some of the Little League improvements that they've asked about. And certainly, I think all of us are committed to making, on ways to ensure the maintenance and operations are covered, so you don't have to put a big stress on your budget for the pool. So anyway, that was my little speech. So I don't know if you have questions. We've done some more research. I think the budget is a plan, and plans can change or be revised or something. And we worked on kind of narrowing down and looking at places where we could possibly not do something and add it. So I think the latest budget that we had about 1.8 million in there for a cover. Mary, I don't know if you want to talk, I don't know how you want to run this in terms of answering questions.
Go ahead and do your
Okay.
presentation, and then if Mary would like to get up or anyone else, then they can.
Okay.
And then if we have other questions, anyone have a question of Robin while she's up? No, thank you, that was very.
She's covered it well.
Yes, she
Okay,
did cover.
so I do think there's a way to adjust the budget. That's
Mhm.
my
Okay.
ending comment.
For the cover, is what you're saying.
Mary?
For the cover,
Perfect.
right, for the retractable cover.
Retractable cover, yes.
Right,
For the retractable cover, is what
For
you're
the
saying.
retractable.
Yeah.
right.
Yes, the roof.
Okay, Mary, did you want to speak? Not that we're putting you on the, no, I'm not or anything, not putting you on the spot. But your T-shirt looks so nice, you have to come down.
Well, Mary Webb, and I live on Discovery Street, and I've been here before. And first, just I wanted to express appreciation really to all of you, to the mayor, of course, and to the city council people, to Steve and to Cindy, who's helped and come to all these meetings, and the Splash people, and the community, the people from the community who really turned out and helped with the meetings and showed up with ideas. Numbers are not my big thing, being an English major, but I did want to say that as you already know, and you've got a long agenda, the main item that people really talked about at those community meetings was a way to extend the season. And from going to that training when we first learned about this park grant availability in February, it did sound like if you could have a project that had a wider scope or longer term or whatever. And so a few weeks ago we started making some phone calls and talking to people and just looking online. So we looked at three different manufacturers. One are called automated pool enclosures. So it's a really cool thing. I mean, it's like a enclosure, a building of sorts that slides back automatically or opens. We can have any configuration, doors, windows, and so on. And of course, it's a big ticket item. We did get a range of prices from, and these are just for the item and the delivery, that were ranged from 1.2 to, really, I think it's gonna be closer to, it's gonna be right around that $1.2 million figure. So, but the people that I spoke with, I mean, of course, they're, you know, call us, we'll help, we'll work with your people, you know. They were very encouraging. And one of the companies, which is called Dynadome, on their website, you can look at it, actually has an enclosure here in Yreka somewhere. Some resident has a pool with their enclosure, so.
We need to go knock on their door.
Yeah.
If
and
I'd
say,
known
"Can
about
we
that
see your
door.
enclosure?"
It's a wee bit smaller.
It
Yeah.
is, it is, it's true. And we've also learned that, you know, like 100-foot wide is kind of one of their maximums, that if you go wider than that, then that creates all kinds of other problems, so, or issues, not problems, so. anyway.
Challenges,
Yes.
Yes.
challenges.
And again, I know you have a lot on your plate, but I did at least want to say thank you to you all for your support, because you've really, I mean, we spent a lot of time, so.
Yes,
and-
we have.
and the community too, so.
You guys have spent more, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mary and Rob, we spent a lot of time on it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else have anything to say? I know there's some people here from Splash.
We do have some information to present
Oh, you
as
do?
well. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, Matt or Steve?
yeah, we're gonna pass this around, and how many do we end up having? I'm not sure. Okay. We wanna get the rest of them up to the. Do you want me to start, or are you gonna start?
Oh, you can start
Okay.
diving behind you.
What we're passing out is that, as Robin mentioned, there has been an effort to try to, you know, redo the grant amounts. Could you, the rest of them, could those be, are there still extras?
Some from the
Yeah.
audience?
You're up, you got it.
Anyway, there was a discussion and a revised budget, or revised draft budget, I guess you would say, on, that came up. And could you get one to Robin? She knows the numbers, but I think that it's key to,
Oh, I think she knows these numbers
yeah, like
intimately,
crazy,
you
but,
and
you
Mary,
know,
right?
yeah, doing it from memory.
And Cindy.
So what we did is we took the existing cost estimate that's in the back of your binder that was sent out with the agenda packet, and that's the first column. The only difference in there is, as I mentioned, we split out the construction contingency and the pre-construction cost. So you'll see that those two are split out in there. Then the next column over is a draft budget to try to fit in the, mostly the pool enclosure. So you'll see that going down the line, I wonder if I should have more copies of it. Anyway, going down the line, the pool itself, and that's a pretty good number. We of course hope it's on the high end, and that's kind of what consultants try to do, is to make sure that they're somewhat higher. So that's about the same. The pool facility building, there's been a decrease here of about $700,000. And so we'll need to talk about what's involved in that. And then as you go down, the renovate a playground and picnic area, looking at not renovating the playground, but instead just putting a few picnic tables in. The Little League Park, showing a budget originally of $250,000, but putting that down to 110, and we can, between us, we can talk about what that number means. The side entrance to the park was a fairly large number, and that's been whittled down to $210,000. This is an entrance to the park from the
Parking lot.
parking lot to the east.
From the east side,
Right.
right.
Pathways, knocked down $100,000 there. The security camera system, we, and I won't put Kale on the spot, even though he's in the audience, but anyway, we had a number that we thought was what it would cost to not only have the cameras, but also connect them to the police department. And that's been lowered quite a bit. The new lighting throughout the park, also down 100,000, as well as the landscaping irrigation. The two things that are added in there, the pool enclosure, the 1.8 million. And it's been very difficult to get cost estimates for that, because there aren't a whole lot of pool enclosures for the size that we would need. But there are, as Mary pointed out, a number of different companies. Was it today that we actually talked to the guy? Okay. Earlier today, we got a hold of the community called Highland, North Carolina, that has a pool cover approximately the same size as what we would be looking at. They had a situation where, I don't want to get envious, but there was a man there who obviously was wealthy, who they built a swimming pool, and he said, I want to swim year round. And eventually he got to the point where he said, I'll pick up the cost for that.
Wow.
So this was,
$1.8
yeah.
million?
If we have a person out there like that,
Yeah,
if they can raise their
Anybody?
hand. So it turned out, this was about 4 years ago. And the pool cover was actually the biggest one that this company, I think it was Dynadome that was mentioned. It was the biggest one that company had done to date. It was a little under 700,000 for the cover, and then it was about another 600,000 to do the installation and so on.
Labor.
So right now that 600,000 is a malleable number, because there was also some installation of the bathhouse, or the building, so that in the wintertime you don't freeze in the shower, I guess, or whatever. But it was done not with prevailing wages.
Oh, yeah, that
And that's,
doesn't
or
work.
certainly not the ones that we have out here. I explained to the gentleman in North Carolina how it works here a little bit. So anyway, but it kind of gave I was looking for something of the same size put in by a city, and that was what we found, and probably other examples, but
I'm
just,
also glad to see you put the solar panels in there. That was discussed quite a bit at
Yes.
the public meetings as well.
right, the solar panels, there was a lot of discussion about how to use them, and particularly a lot of concern about damage to them, but we think there's a way to do.
From the baseball field?
Yes, it's not from the little leaguers. We're not worried about the actual little leaguers. We're looking at the people that think they're in the major leagues,
Oh.
and part of the way that they do that is by playing on a little league field. I mean, I've only hit one homer in my life, and that's because they brought the fences in a long way. And so anyway, that was, and actually, it was fun. Anyway, I'll just say that. Not much of a baseball player. So anyway, what I really wanted to, we're concerned about a few of these numbers, and I can let Matt go into that. Part of it is that the large reduction in the pool building
Facility.
itself.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
We're not as concerned, leaving out a playground, that's more a policy direction on what to apply for, than a concern, because you can leave out a playground and put in, what is that, about 4 picnic tables? Something like that.
Oh, it's a few, yeah.
And there may be grants in the future for playgrounds.
Right, so there's some things in here where there are cost savings, and there's things that cause us, basically, some concern on whether we can actually build I mean, obviously, the most important part is the pool, and you can't have the pool without the pool building. So you need to do those two first before you get to the pool enclosure, so. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was there is, in the grant manual, there is a clause in here that I just wanted to read. This is the draft or sample agreement that's in the grant manual. Is that the right term for it? All right. I'm only getting the relevant pages. So there's a line that says, "The grantee shall assume any obligation to furnish any additional funds that may be necessary to complete the grant scope." causes a little bit of concerns because the reason we're applying for the grant is because we don't have those funds
Right.
and haven't been able to invest those funds in the past. So, in talking to the state, and I think Robin got a similar thing, is that there's some willingness to work with us. But that's what the language says, so just want to make sure that you understand that there is some risk there if we put in too much. And we have had this experience before on the, what was the name of the grant from? It was before I got here. There was a park grant that we used out in Greenhorn
Oh.
that we severely underestimated the
Cost.
costs, and we still had to do the work. And so there were some other funding sources that got in there. So
Yeah.
there's a concern, but there also may be some flexibility on the part of the state if it, you know, if we did an ad alternate or something to where, you know, you're looking at it and it just, you know, let's say prices escalate faster and, you know, while we don't ever want to wish for a recession, building public infrastructure during a recession is a really good idea, but we don't know what the environment's gonna be like in a year and a half, so.
Can't control that.
Anyway.
No, we can't control that.
No, we can't control it. So, anyway, this is not by way of saying, hey, we recognize that the community wanted to have, well, actually, it was, a lot of people even wanted an enclosed pool. Year-round, there were a lot of problems with that we had concerns about. But the retractable cover for extending the season is a good idea. And I think that one of the things, and I've mentioned this as well, is that it's not just wanting it, because sometimes you don't get what you want. That's just the reality of it. But it may enhance the grant application by extending the season
Right.
and making it
Right.
look a little better. So, anyway.
So along that line, if
Go
I may.
ahead. Yeah. I was expecting you to jump in earlier. but-
Well, you were on a roll.
He didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
So, some of the concerns that have been brought from staff, or shall I say, differences in opinion. The $2 million number for the pool building itself, when staff broke that down, we utilized the formula that the consultant that we'd hired last year to take a look at the pool and come up with a probable cost. And in that report, it's broken out to where different types of rooms, and this is standard throughout public works projects, but different types of rooms are a different square foot cost. And so, say the mechanical room with the pumps in it is $600 a square foot, whereas a restroom is $400 versus a office is $300. So that's how we came to the $2 million. And that's just something that we would need to discuss with the folks that, the 1.2 and how that is. So, but as it was mentioned earlier, it's malleable, it can be moved around. We have that time to do so. A number of things that have been just shoved around here. Say the entrance, that's another one that's very malleable. A lot of that cost depends on the final design of what is gonna fit the site the best. There's some conceptual designs that were drawn up by Morgan Eastlick. I believe Amy and some folks came in and worked with him to come up with, come down with some cost-effective methods to get the ADA access into the park and then throughout the park. So that's where a few of the differences lie between the numbers on the left column and the numbers on the right.
I have to admit that I'm also worried about cutting that number almost in half. And I think, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I was just
Amy?
gonna say where the 1.2 number came from. We came up with a design for the pool house, and I submitted that to Morgan, so that's the design that's going in for the line drawing for the grant. But I had two different contractors give me an estimate on that particular bathhouse, and I did go ahead and put in all of the ADA stalls, all of the suggested numbers of toilets and showers from the assessment. And I even added like a family restroom accessible from the pool side because the public really wanted a way for families
Right.
to change and mothers to keep an close eye on kids. So anyway, and one of the contractors that I had look at it is the foreman who did the police station. So I felt like he would have a kind of a decent idea of I mean, keeping in mind prevailing wage, because that's going to double. I mean, you can just add double onto everything when you start talking about prevailing wage. They came up with an average square footage cost of, I wanna say it was between $300 and $350 a square foot, and I say average because exactly what Matt is talking about, the bathrooms are going to be expensive, because there are expensive fixtures. But a lot of the square footage, just a little bit less than half of the square footage are offices and storage rooms, which are basically just 4 walls. So we took the $500 a square foot average, or $525 a square foot average from the pool assessment, and averaged it to, I believe what's in there is $425 a square foot, is what makes that 1.2. So we pulled the $300 to $350 per square foot and averaged it with the assessment. One of the reasons why we felt comfortable with making that average is because we're not sure what kind of finishes that the Walnut Creek guy was doing, but it felt like the Cadillac version. We're just asking for cement slab floors in the bathroom that we can hose out with French drains. That's all we need. We're not asking for tile everything and all of the labor that you have to do to install all of that. It's cement with stalls, with a door that goes across it, nothing fancy. So we knocked down whatever those finishes were that made it $600 a square foot. We're not asking for any of that. And so ours is a $425 per square foot average cost for a 3,600 square foot building.
Okay,
That's where that number came from.
okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
And I-
You look at shower stalls that are individual, or you look at just a group?
We have 3 individual shower stalls in each bathroom, and then 1 ADA compliant, fully, all of the fixtures in 1 room in each bathroom. So there are stalls that are individual, not like a wall with shower heads. They are individual, and then there's 1 bathroom within each bathroom that has a sink, a toilet, and an ADA shower stall inside of it. So the door closes on that. 1 private, 3 stalls.
And did that also take into consideration what Matt was talking about, the room with all the mechanics that runs the pool?
The pump room.
The pump room,
The
because that
pump
costs
room-
more, right?
Yes, the pump room assessment, so the building itself was in our $425 one. And then for the equipment, we were under the impression that it was in the pool assessment that goes with
Oh,
that.
no, I thought it was in the building. Matt would know.
That's something that needs to be clarified.
Oh, okay, it
Right,
needs to be
That's
clarified.
been a sticking
Okay.
point on my end too, is where
Oh.
exactly because we know where the numbers are when we looked at it. We
Oh,
didn't know
okay.
what you guys were.
Well, it makes sense though, because it runs the pool.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what we figured was,
Makes sense.
because certain equipment is gonna be based on what your pool is, not what your house, your bathhouse is.
Right, right.
But I think what Matt was sharing was that probably that room will be plumbed and electrified different, so all of the, what they would call the underground that's done at the beginning, all that, it's gonna have much more underground in that than probably than, say, you even have in a shower, which has quite a bit of underground, so that's probably where a lot of your square footage cost comes in a mechanical room,
Right,
yeah.
you're going up larger pipes and
Yeah.
larger cables, basically, right, everything.
Okay. All right, thank you, Amy. Any other
Thank you.
questions of Amy?
No.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Matt, do you have
Um,
anything else to add?
Just some of these numbers that we had looked at, the security camera system that staff had plugged in 175,000. We were looking more toward the light up the entire park, because this grant's covering the entire park.
Right,
Full coverage of the entire park, and then make it talk to the city's dark fiber and run down to the police department servers.
Oh, that'd be
So
nice.
the $25,000 number there, that cut there didn't quite set well with me, because it's being that enterprise system to hook into what we have existing in the city already, we felt was going to be a considerable amount of money.
Will those cameras identify I know that the cameras at the high school, when I had to identify students, I'd go up and you couldn't tell license
Right.
plate or a student's face or anything, so they were really worthless to work with the police.
That's really, to me, the difference in price point, to get that quality and coverage that we would need to provide the security that I believe the community is asking for through these meetings. And it is a big portion of the grant, I forget how many points, but there is at least a portion where we have to provide for the safety of. And there's multiple ways to do that, but the community spoke, and cameras are now,
Cameras
8 or
and
10
lights.
years ago when I was down and, working in the maintenance division side, that was not an option. We wanted cameras all over the parks at that point, and it just, we as a community, as Americans, we weren't quite there yet. We weren't comfortable enough with it now, and now it just seems that that's the answer to a lot of it, is just light it up and be able to rewind that tape and or watch it, so.
Those quality cameras, when we put them in for the police department, all over town in different places, they were considerably more costly than we thought they were going to
Right.
be.
Yes.
As I
And-
recall, probably because of what Paul said, and that's for the clarity.
Right, you do want to be able to identify, there are times where we've had people on video camera, and the cops know who they are, by however cops know how people are, but you couldn't prove it, so.
Okay, so what's our next move?
Yes.
It's on the agenda for approval.
Well, I think that tonight, what we're really looking to do, we believe that you should approve the resolution applying for the grant. I think
Yes.
it's the right time.
I agree.
And all that sort of thing. I think that we probably need to have a little discussion of what I believe Robin in her presentation talked about risk. Because we really are looking at cost estimates. We don't know what it will really be like. We would like to be able to do those things that are most important, and you may even have an idea of, do you agree with the priorities or not? I'd hope that tonight we could, I could say, hey, we've adopted the resolution, we're done. I can take a break from pool stuff, but I think that we're probably gonna have to have a little bit more discussion at the staff level. But as a council, I think that you need to be giving some kind of priorities on how you're looking at things. Do you agree with the things that have been deleted out of here in order to go for the pool enclosure? Are you comfortable with the risks? And I can't tell you what the risks are really, other than what we've talked about tonight.
The risks are maintenance, as I understand it. The grant would cover pretty much the building of the pool. So the risk will be in the maintenance, and what is it that the maintenance cost will be approximately? Matt, I think you had a figure on that, didn't you? Or
There's
was
a
that
figure
Steve?
that's plugged in here. Don't know if we have that page.
No, we
That was
don't
kind
have
of
that page.
the maintenance was, somewhat separate from this. The maintenance and
Right.
operations number is different.
But I thought the contractor had given you as a 10% per year figure.
That was a number from the USA.
The YMCA.
Pool guy, a number of years ago, as a rule of thumb for a year-round pool.
Year-round pool though, yeah.
So that was
This will be close.
That was at 10% of the build cost held annually for the life of the pool.
So
10% of the build cost of the pool,
Yes.
because we're looking at a grant
That was
has-
for a pool facility,
Okay.
maintenance and operation.
Right.
So we're looking at about
That's
$500,000 a
Build
year,
cost,
probably is a
10%.
good figure to start at.
Right, and that was
About
year-round.
500,000.
That was a year-round
That's a
Yeah.
enclosed
year-round.
pool number, so that's not a true number, just like a lot of these are just.
So probably somewhere between 300
Some
and 500,000 a year, which is not in our budget now.
Right, we don't think
That's
it
the
would go
risk.
up, we
Yeah.
don't, well, you don't know how much it's gonna cost really.
Yeah.
We would hope that it would not be up in the $500,000 range.
Right.
But 250 to 300,000, and then, we're not talking about just the annual cost, because the annual costs are obviously less than that. But we're really talking about those, I call them 5-year and 10-year unfortunately, pool repairs never happen on that nice of a schedule.
Deferred
But-
maintenance.
But,
Right.
right, we don't want to do deferred maintenance, we need to get ahead and, if you have apartment
Maintain it.
complexes, you have replacement reserves, and you need to plan for that there will be things that happen.
Right.
And you want to keep it in good shape,
Right.
that's why we're at the place where we are.
The number's also moving as to what Amy spoke to with it, it comes all the way down to the decision on the finishes. That I've researched Reading with their aquatic facility, and their director is, saying that the tiles are popping off the walls, they're, needing replaced, things of that nature. And that's not that old of a facility,
Wow.
but, that's really another, where
But if we
malleable
don't-
point here is that
we don't go
you
that
take a
way.
look at the finishes, and that's gonna alter your maintenance.
Right.
If it's concrete walls that aren't painted, zero maintenance for 100 years. If they're painted, you're gonna paint them every 5 years, that kind of thing. So,
Right.
that's where a lot of this back and forth comes.
Right.
Trying to nail down on some hard numbers at this
So the
point.
first thing we need to do then is adopt a resolution.
Right.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the application for statewide park development and community revitalization program grant funds for the Ringy Pool and the park renovation projects.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All ayes.
Then I think the next thing that we need to do then, perhaps, is put it back on,
Yes.
to talk, after you meet with your staff, we need to talk about budgets.
In August. In August or
Well,
September?
as soon as possible.
If we
Well,
were.
with our treasurer too,
Oh,
right?
Okay, so I want to make sure that I understand you, Councilmember. Are you saying that we should have another meeting before the grant application goes in to talk about
No,
stuff?
not before it goes in, no.
Okay,
Because we can go, I mean, realistically, we could go either way. I mean, the thing is, we don't know really whether we're putting tile on the,
Right.
here or concrete. We don't know if you're gonna have I mean, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about a pool and a pool house, until we actually do it.
so we can have that discussion down the road. To be quite honest, at the point, there'll be 2 points where it would make sense. One would be, as you probably know, a lot of the people in the crowd tonight are interested in trying to form either a park district or some other mechanism
Right.
to
Parks and Rec,
fund ongoing
right.
maintenance, so that could feed into that.
Right.
The other point would be when we're actually designing the pool, to look at those finishes and the long-term maintenance. And I can guarantee you that the gentleman to my left will not let anyone get away with not evaluating that, so.
Well,
that
I
will-
mean, I think
that will
it's,
be part of it.
it's obvious in my mind that when you're designing it, yes, you're gonna do that. But I think prior to that, you have to
Yeah.
know what you're shooting for.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So,
So-
and you had talked about talking to staff, about having a meeting with staff, and I think that after you do that, I think we need to come back. And we need to talk about it again with council and go over what we have for, what you have come up with for other numbers and what, because I'm assuming you're gonna meet.
Finalizing it?
Yes,
We need
to
finalize
analyze it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the number that, I mean, it may change a little bit, but the number that we're
8.5.
probably going to put in, there's a space in the application
Mhm.
where you talk about, the budget for maintenance. And we probably are gonna be looking at something, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000, to do that. I don't know if it's a good number or not, but the
So
thing
we-
we're not gonna do is we're not gonna say that's dependent on some other funding source. We may say that at the other end, but that's.
Well, I don't think maintenance, I think maintenance is, I mean,
Right.
chlorine is chlorine. You're gonna
Yeah.
use a certain amount of chlorine whether you have a cover over it or
Yes.
whether you don't. There are other chemicals that you're gonna use. What I'm talking about is, I'm talking about the building itself, the structure itself. Because I thought you
So-
were talking about meeting
so-
with staff again to kind of go over,
So-
to talk more about that.
So maybe I need to clarify a little bit of what I was looking at. And it probably wouldn't be with just staff, but it'd also be with the members of the core group on the pool committee, is that, we right now have there's two budgets in front of you. One is with the pool cover and one is without the pool cover. And there are obviously some cuts in other things in order to try to fit the pool cover in there. It may be that we are, and the big ticket item really is the building. You know,
Mhm.
you heard Matt talk about where we got the number, and then you heard Amy talk about where she got the number. A difference of 700,000 is a lot. So that's probably the biggest one. There's a few other things that they add up over time. What I really am looking for from you is sort of the second step is we're gonna have to put together the application. And if you're comfortable with the risks involved with the second column essentially, that would be good for us to know, because there are risks with that. If you're a little less comfortable with that and you wanna come back and talk about it as a group, you're gonna need a special meeting to talk about that. So
And
that's-
I was thinking that's probably a good idea. We haven't had a workshop in a long time. If we wanna have a single item discussion such as this,
Right.
then we should probably schedule a special meeting.
It's gonna have to be done next week.
Yeah.
Right, next week, but I have one big caveat.
Mhm.
I'm not sure we're gonna have better ideas of what it's gonna cost.
Oh,
So,
darn.
I'm comfortable with the way we approved it, with
I am
the
too.
cover. I think
I
that's,
am too.
let's go with that and see
Okay.
if we can get the grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we don't get the grant, it's
It
just
just-
all.
It's all a moot point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, if we
Good
get the
point.
grant, then we've got to dig into the numbers much greater.
Right.
Okay,
And I agree with Norm.
so you're kind of okay if we're somewhere along the lines of
Right.
column 2 then?
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
Yes.
right.
All right.
And I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. I know that in
Yes.
February, August seemed like a long time away. And with all the hard work, it went so fast. So thank you guys for all your hard work and our staff too.
Can I
Thank you.
please add one more item, though,
Sure.
one more thought here, is the fact that nobody's considered the potential income that can evolve once we are extended a longer period of time, the buy-in from the rest of the community, the college, the high schools, to, even though they don't have a swim program now, to develop one and buy into this. So I know this sounds like we're just spending money, but we have the potential to earn some money. And if we could at least break even on the maintenance, I'd be a real
Maintenance.
happy camper.
Right, I-
So,
I agree,
I want, if your decision is based on that, I want to give you a warning.
yeah.
Pools
Oh,
don't work that way.
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
at least it's a little positive note there.
Yeah, 250,000 would be pretty hard. I know that the high school is backed away. We're hoping to bring them back to the table.
Yes.
And the college is interested, and the
College.
tribe is interested, and,
Mhm.
yeah,
Maybe
we're
the
hoping.
hospital.
And maybe the
Right.
hospital. So
Hospitals
yes,
and
we
everything else,
have discussed
therapy.
that, and we're definitely looking
Oh.
at bringing in the community. That's all part of the
We
plan.
absolutely want everyone
All
to
part
be
of the plan.
involved, because every
Yep.
day that the pool's open, it costs a certain amount of money.
Right.
We'd like to
However-
cover part of that.
However, you do
Yeah.
have to know this, that I don't think that with this grant, we're going to be able to charge for people to come in the pool, right, Robin?
For free swim.
We
Right,
have to
it's for
provide
low-income-
free swim.
Low-income individuals, but we can't charge for swim lessons, rent it to
Right.
COS for
Right.
classes,
Right.
and
But
for
not-
any other use, for birthday parties, whatever, so we will be able to
Right,
generate.
So
but
it's-
not the
it's-
$3 per person that we've had
Right.
in the past. And that's part of the grant. If they spend public money on it, they want free swim.
Right, because it's really directed at low-income
Right.
Makes sense.
communities.
Yep.
And can I clarify something in the grant scope items? When we use the word renovate for a swimming pool and renovate for a pool facility, what we really mean is everything's gone. Everything is hauled away. It's all garbage.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we start new.
The
Right.
whole.
So we're really not renovating.
It's not renovate,
We're
that would
building.
not be the proper lingo.
And we still need to go through the process of CEQA. We have to make sure that the land has not been contaminated by
Right.
chemicals.
As a public
Okay.
project, we have to go through
Yes.
the entire gamut.
Okay,
Yeah.
even though we're doing the same thing there and it's the same basic footprint.
We're,
Okay.
we're hoping to use an abbreviated environmental review process too.
Right.
We know there's some things that we need to look at, but we're hoping that we can
Yeah.
be swift. And actually, the grant timelines anticipate that.
Okay.
So we,
And
you
it-
look at it at several levels. What do you need to do locally?
Yeah.
What is the granting agency willing to approve? They are pretty obviously willing to, be understanding of having a swift environmental.
So that also includes the tribe's input on it.
Actually, I'm sure it does, but.
Okay, that's fine.
don't-
Because I think
don't
the
know
tribe
that.
has 30 or 60 days in which to respond.
It's, and a little bit of it depends on what the exemptions are, but yes, there are
Yeah.
consultation things.
Okay.
There are some things we can do ahead of time, but there's some things that we can't. So,
Okay.
sorry to
Okay.
dance on that, but.
No, I don't think they're gonna say anything. I don't think
Yeah.
they're even gonna, you send them a letter and then,
We're not anticipating any problems with the environmental review.
No.
It's just it takes a certain amount of time depending on which way you do it.
okay, thank you. Thanks for all your work on it.
Okay, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, are we ready to go on to the next item?
I just
Okay,
wanted to
thank you
mention-
all for being here,
Yes,
and you're
thank
welcome
you.
to stay.
So for clarity, there doesn't need to be a workshop. I just want to make sure. that
Okay,
that
there
happens.
doesn't.
No workshop.
No,
We don't
let's,
need a
we're
workshop.
going forward with the grant. Everybody knows that. Yes. Yay. All that work paid off, guys. Good job.
Good for the-
Okay, item number 3. Discussion possible action. So we have to appoint somebody to be a voting delegate and an alternate for the 2019 Annual League of Cities, California Cities Conference to be held October 16th through 18th in Long Beach. And on here it says appoint Mayor Joan Smith Freeman as a voting delegate and Steve Baker as the alternate, unless there's one of you that is interested in going. It's in October 16th to the 18th. And I've also been invited to be on the Resolutions Committee, which means that we consider and vote on all of the resolutions to the changes to the policies for the League of California Cities. That just happened today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was hoping to go and serve
Yes.
the Queen Mary, but, you know, I can stay. I'll make a motion.
We'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, I know I've made 3 tonight. I make a motion to appoint Mayor Joan Smith Freeman as voting delegate and Steve Baker as the alternate voting delegate to the 2019 Annual League of California Cities Conference to be held October 16th through the 18th in beautiful Long Beach, California.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second from, okay, which one? Norm? I think Norm was
Sorry.
first. Norm, Dwayne did the last one. Okay, so any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Send us a postcard, please.
Thank you, I will.
Okay.
I will send you a postcard.
Do I need to write that down?
Postcard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
postcard.
Postcard.
Not-
Postcard.
required.
And now we're on to city manager and staff reports, and I'm not sure if you've given all of your reports, there's probably more.
No, I actually have.
There's more.
I have a few, but they're short. And some of you already know about some of these things, but some of the things are not. I got an email today, and Norm, this is for you, but it's really for all of us, that the hazardous mitigation plan that we submitted our part of, sent it to the county, sent it to the state, had to be approved by somebody else and somebody else. Anyway, we've gotten our approval on that, so,
Oh,
yeah.
good, hazard
It's
mitigation.
taken over a year.
Yeah, it's taken over a year.
Yes, it
However,
has.
in their letter back, or the email back to us, they said that we have to do something with our general plan, so we're talking to the planner tomorrow and find out what that is.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, yeah, I don't know. That- Just one more step. It's a way of putting it back on our shoulders instead
Yeah,
of theirs.
once again.
I think we'll be a little shorter than a year.
I hope.
There will be, going on to other things that actually the Office of Emergency Services, Code Red, there's been a desire so that you can go to your cell phone and just text message something so that you can get your information on Code Red. There will be a press release coming out, I think, in the next week that will give instructions on how to do that. We really like
Oh,
to
good.
have
I saw that
everyone out there for notifications, so this
Yes.
will add to that. You may have noticed in the newspaper the 10-year homelessness plan approved by the Board of Supervisors. So this came out of the
coalition.
Coalition on Homelessness talked about this a lot. There was a consultant brought in using what's called No Place Like Home funds, and that's what the 10-year plan, I love the title, the 10-year plan to end homelessness. That may be a little bit ambitious, but you gotta have goals.
Yes.
So
That'd be great,
anyway,
wouldn't it?
Yes.
that is out there, and this helps establish some of the plans for how the funds come down from the state. There's been a lot of discussion about that at the state level. In our case, it comes down, a lot of the funding comes through the continuum of
Care.
Care, right.
I got that wrong the other day. And
Let's
then
see.
gets distributed to us.
Yes,
Unfortunately, it
yes.
means some of the admin money stays with the continuum. Some money with the agencies or nonprofits can apply for direct, and certainly the county is is looking at trying to get some of those funds and has already applied in some cases. Related to that, but not related to that, is that we did issue a building permit, actually it's been a few weeks ago now, for the Beacon of Hope out on Foothill Drive.
Nice.
They still have some funding that they're looking for, so I don't know exactly what that will mean in terms of the project moving forward, but I know that they are excited about that. This might be on the mayor's list, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway. There's a National Senate bill by Feinstein, Senate Bill 2012, that is to try to overturn the FCC ruling about small cells. That basically says we don't care about small cities, we don't care about big cities, all we care about is telecoms, and they can pretty much decide where they put all their stuff. So Feinstein has introduced legislation to overturn that. On a number of occasions, we've talked about either at the state level or the federal level opposing that. So the mayor's being asked to sign a letter indicating our support of that bill. So if you haven't already done it, we'll do that immediately. There is a KRRC, the Klamath River thing, meeting locally to talk about cultural resources on July 30th. I'm not sure that affects us very much. I don't think we have a historical water plant or anything, but just thought I'd mention that since they're going to be here locally. Last night, the Planning Commission approved a second concrete batch plant off of Oberlin Road.
Good.
And so what that'll do, it's really the same property, but it'll have two batch plants, and I think the idea is that if you have two batch plants, you can do two different kinds of concrete, because there's like state concrete for highways, or maybe it's federal concrete, I don't know, and then the concrete that the rest of the world uses. And so you can have them both running at the same time. Obviously, they're hoping to make some money off of projects that involve putting concrete on roads.
Correction, Sharps Road.
What did I say?
Oberlin.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying
Sure,
to.
sure.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to Oberlin, or is it on Fairlane?
No, it's on
No,
Sharp.
No, he's
it's
right.
on
Sharps Road.
It's on
Sharks.
Sharps.
So in my defense, they're parallel. No.
And they've already pumped 1,400
Yeah.
cubic yards just into this
Really?
pit alone from that
Oh,
one
wow.
batch plant. So
Yeah.
they really need it. I know they have trucks down here from Portland, and, yeah,
Portland, there's a.
they have to call, they have to call trucks down because they don't, there's not
there's
enough.
time.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. They're pouring, I mean, when they pour, they're pouring, they got trucks lined up there
Oh,
4 and
yeah.
5 deep.
Oh, yeah, they're starting early too.
Mhm.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of concrete.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
of
it
concrete.
is.
And there's a
No,
lot
wait-
more to pour.
Wait till we do our freeway, or our main highway.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna
Highway
it's gonna
3.
take a long time.
That's gonna be.
Mayor, that completes my report.
Oh, did we help you with your report?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
about
no, it
that.
completes my report.
Okay,
You-
all right.
I just want to let you know you'd go on with life.
Okay, Matt, did you have anything to add?
No, that's.
No? Retta? Liz? You guys are so quiet.
And tonight, Mayor, I did not have the police management here, but if you had a question about police activities or something like that, I have the cell phone numbers for the two sergeants, and I can summon one if you need.
Oh, the
But-
two sergeants on duty?
Yes, as long as they're not on a call. I could,
Okay,
I
right.
just wanted to let you know that in case you were gonna ask for that
Ah,
next. So,
well, yes, where are they?
yeah, they're summonable.
Well, we did have the chief of the fire department here, the fire chief.
Yeah.
I was surprised he didn't mention the barbecue this weekend.
I know, that's
that's
supposed to be
right.
this Saturday, isn't
Saturday,
it?
yep.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who else
Suter's
going,
house.
Deb and I have been before. I bet Joe Suiters.
Yeah, Suiters.
Joe or?
No, Jason.
Jason. Jason Suiters, okay. Yeah, Debbie and I were there, didn't we?
Yes,
Yeah, it was fun, it was nice. Okay, so how about, do you have a report?
I do have a report.
Okay, Debbie.
My notes. Okay, so Collier Informative and Information Center, so C2C, is doing a fair booth every other year, so this is the year. So I have some sign-up sheets, if anybody cares
Oh.
to spend some time at the booth.
That'd be fun.
We sponsor a booth both at the Siskiyou Golden Fair and the Tule Lake Fair, so you can attend both and have twice the fun. And the other thing is, each city is responsible for supplying 2 baskets, and there's a drawing at the end of each day, whatever. So I will need,
There's a plan.
yes, oh, that works, I guess.
You do, that's right.
So I don't know if I need to approach the city and ask for money, or if I need to go get donations. So how does that work?
We have recyclable bags.
We have some nice
I
water
can put it in
bags, yes.
recyclable bags.
And usually, some of the banks have pins and note paper.
Do we have to go cheesy?
I know.
Well, what were you looking for?
Things people can use, mugs, t-shirts, anything that says Yreka on it.
2 baskets for each fair.
We have bags.
1 basket for each fair.
So, okay, so I'll get some stuff just for you from Sears. I know it's just tools and stuff, but I'll get you a few things for each basket.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
and I'll just have them in a bag and give them to you. I'll have 2 different bags. I'll give you the same for each one, I think.
Thank you.
My stuff
Thank
won't
you.
fit in a bag.
I
I'm
think-
trying to think of what I could donate. I could do a gift certificate
Well-
kind
well,
of
I
thing.
know-
Ray could donate like a kitchen cabinets for one,
Yeah.
and bathroom for
Oh,
the other
right.
basket.
That's all.
You too.
I'm not sure I could carry it
We'll
in.
shove it in
Once you
there.
pack that.
Yes. So if anybody wants to sign up
Yes, I do,
for,
actually.
do you? Lovely, there you go.
Awesome. And I can probably get some stuff donated, maybe. We can talk to people.
Well, I was gonna walk the streets if I had
But
to.
I'm saying,
Tip me the street walker.
I'll help you, Danny. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying, okay? Because I
Be the
know,
street walker.
if you do get the wine, I think that I can get Women in Business to donate 2 Women in Business, Yreka Women in Business wine glasses. They have some
Awesome.
left over from their conference last year,
Oh, that'd be good.
so we can do that.
And you need you need them
Would you
quick,
pass it
because
in?
Golden Fair's starting in about 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you need them quick.
So, no pressure.
None at all. Okay, and the other thing, I did do the bartending service with the regular gals for the Stable Hands fundraising dinner last weekend. That was such a relaxing event.
Was it?
Yes, and
I've
they
had
had,
before.
oh, it was
but
very
not
nice.
this
Rows
year.
and rows of silent auction items. It was very well attended, and it went, I think I was home by 10 o'clock. I mean, these people do not know how to party, but it was very relaxing.
Yeah, I think the last time I went to one of their dinners, yes, we were home by before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but we had cleaned up
You
and
had to
everything.
clean up the bar,
Yeah. Okay, and then there was one more thing. Okay, Friends of the Fair is also responsible for manning the information booth at the fair. Keep in mind, you get free admittance and parking if you donate some time to sit in here. So if anybody wants to spend time in the information booth, it actually is a lot of fun, especially if you're a people watcher.
It is fun. I love
It
the
is.
fair.
It is
It's a
actually
lot
fun
of
to
fun.
watch
Coming
people.
up.
So thank you very much, that's all.
Got their letter.
Great. Paul,
I just wanted to, I do want to thank Robin, I know they're not here, Robin and Mary, because they did a lot of work on this. I mean, we wouldn't even, it's gonna be difficult, but we wouldn't even be where we are without the 2, so I want to thank them.
yeah, they did a great job.
And I do want to thank Matt, because I see our public works out there just, I mean, they're moving all the time, whether it's a park or whether they're doing streets or whether they're doing crosswalks and I mean, not crosswalks, but red curbs, and then who's the woman that does all the dressing it up on
Flowers.
Minor Street?
Yeah, she's doing a great job.
Yeah, Natalie?
Tammy Sullivan.
Tammy. So anyway, I want, they need to know that they're doing a fabulous job. Plus, I know they had a thankless job in that hot fire hall, because my CPA's right there, and I'd stop like every morning, and then that's where I ran into Jerry, and it's like, oh my God, So, they're doing a great job, and I know this is the time to make hay, because it's so warm, they can do a lot more things,
Correct. I will definitely pass it on, thank you.
please.
Great, awesome. And Cindy's been working really hard on the pool too. Cindy and Matt both,
Cindy took the brunt of that work
yes,
on, and
Big time.
on a daily basis.
yes.
So good job. Okay, anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I apologize, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Didn't mean to be
all right.
rude.
Okay, I've got a couple things.
Okay.
This is from the city magazine. This is good news for cities. Producer-paid medication needle collection is coming. It's chapter 1004 of statutes 2018 requires manufacturers to pay for safe disposal of medication and needles, but it's not going to kick in for a couple of years. And the city can obtain grant-funded medication disposal bins before this kicks in. So I'm gonna pass this over to Steve Baker so we can follow up, and we need to apply for a medication disposal in the city, and it should be promoted in our city water bill so people can get rid of needles or excess prescription drugs.
Is this like the little things that you put in restrooms or something, or?
No, this is either in a pharmacy or the police station or something like that, but it's for all year long. I know they have this on a weekend once a year or something, but that's not, it needs to be available throughout the year.
And the little mobile van is happening now too.
Well,
Right.
there's the mobile van, but this thing, the manufacturers are gonna have to do it within a 2-year period, but in the interim, there's grants available to provide cities with these bins, so I think we should apply for that. So that's one issue. The other issue is throughout California now, we're gonna have power shutoffs, preemptive power shutoffs. And is the city taking into consideration if our power gets shut off, what about backup generators for our water and sewer?
So
We do.
We do have that, okay.
we're not getting affected by that from what I've read.
Well,
The rolling power power shutoffs wasn't gonna affect Yreka.
I've seen something that Pacific Power, we're still in a high-risk area, that our power could get shut off.
There was other areas that were high, we weren't high risk.
We weren't highest, no, but, I mean, as long as we have a backup generators to take care of our water and sewer and our emergency responders, fire, police, we're covered, I think.
Yes.
Other than the citizens might be inconvenienced with the power shut off for a day or two.
And they, not to interrupt, but from what I've seen, we would have some notice, which means we can fire off our water pumps and fill all the tanks, make sure we're topped off.
Right.
And then we have portable generators that we could run around and plug into our booster stations if need be. So as long as our clear well's full and our tanks are topped off, we can go for days and days and days.
Okay, I just
And
wanna
then
make sure
same on the
we're
wastewater
prepared.
side, when we
Yeah.
had the upgrades at the wastewater plant a number, 2 or 3, 4 years ago, there's a gigantic generator down
Yeah,
there that'll
so
run the whole
that's got a
plant.
big one out
So
there.
we are in good shape for emergency generators.
Okay. And the other issue I have is this Senate Bill 102, AB 101. I don't know if that's passed yet, but it's going to impose penalties and fines on the city for, it says it requires a housing community developed to publish an annual list of cities that have failed to approve a housing community development approved housing element.
But we have one.
We're okay, so we're
We have
not,
one. That was my first question.
Yes.
We have
Right.
one.
We do, our housing element has been approved,
okay?
and we would like the private sector to actually build
Yeah, we
where we
can't-
have approved that. And so, at this point, we don't think that there's, and they built in a pretty good process in there, so that if someday we ended up on that list for some reason, there's a lot of time to work it through and show good faith efforts and all that sort of thing. So, I think it's the big stick. I don't think it applies to us, but if it ever did apply to us, we could work through it.
Yeah,
So-
we can't force the private people to build housing,
No.
no. But hopefully we can maybe help some nonprofits build, below market rate housing or something by providing land or something like that, so.
We actually have some people that are interested.
Okay.
And they're working on it, and they're looking to see what, and it's not, wouldn't be from us, but the state of California is offering. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit during my report.
Okay.
About what I found out at the mayors and council members meeting.
Okay.
Well, that's one of those things that, you know, wish we had more control over it, but unfortunately, the state of
Yeah.
California has their own building codes that it's kind of hard to encourage building when we have to do all these other regulations for, especially anything that needs to be built at an economical rate, you know, it's not gonna happen.
I haven't signed up. I'll take what other people don't want.
Oh, okay. We'll talk to you about this in a minute. Okay.
No,
All right.
done.
Okay, you're done. Okay.
Um,
Mayor Pro Tem.
Going into what, we just had that discussion, because at the League of Local Agencies meeting, we just had at Tule Lake last week, that was one of the things we discussed, actually. That's
That
why
was.
we're able to fire off real quickly at you, Norm, that we do have one, because we had this discussion
Because
already.
we talked about it.
So, which is good, because we need to be on top of that and make sure that we are compliant with the state. And unfortunately, Governor Newsom has great ideas, but doesn't always apply to certain areas. He's trying. We've obviously got a lot of things going on. One thing I want to read is from the newspaper, which I love to read all the time. Too bad it's a weekly newspaper now, but the cleanup, I want to emphasize on that was performed here recently out past Walmart. There's also some numbers in here that I'd really like to emphasize too. It says, since April, the group has removed a total of 8,932 pounds of trash, including all kinds of debris, including mattresses,
Right.
shopping carts, tents, human waste, batteries, a urine drainage bag, discarded and filthy clothes and blankets, liquid Drano bottles,
And the
alcohol
box of
bottles.
dead chickens, they said.
Oh, that's coming, wait. Clothing, blankets, liquid Drano, alcohol and other trash. One of the strangest items found in this group was a blue tub full of dead chickens from the bridge and the west side road. I mean,
Poor
that's pretty alarming, this, see a tub full of dead chickens. So, I mean, this is great, the group that's doing this is.
They're doing a great job.
They're doing an
Yes.
awesome job to
They're
clean
doing a
up
great job.
Yreka, and
Yep.
it's great to have that encouragement and see them
Yep.
doing this, because we have a valuable asset, and unfortunately, we're chasing it around town, trying to clean up the issues, but it's just gonna be an ongoing thing, and hopefully we can keep on top of it and make our town look beautiful again, so.
Can I be the one that weighs
Can you be the one that won?
weighs the poundage?
Yeah,
Almost 9,000 pounds.
that's a lot, that's a
That's
lot
a
of
lot
weight,
of
that's a
stuff.
lot, that's just getting started, there's still other places
So are we
that
doing
people don't
anything
know
to help
about.
them augment the cost of disposal for that?
I haven't talked to the police department to see what exactly, because it's a
That's
a
amazing.
loosely,
That's a lot.
it's loosely affiliated with us, but we really have encouraged it to be off on its own, and we're trying not to tie ourselves to it, as I may have mentioned
But
before.
police and public
But-
works have been involved, right?
Yes, that's.
When it's on city property.
When it's on
yes.
city
Ah.
property, so there's kind of like the private stuff and the public stuff, and so.
So
Anyway.
the good news about that is, through this group, they have been getting numerous donations and obviously volunteers to help do all this work. But they have been getting a lot of financial support, and it's trickling in, and people have really been working together on this, and so they actually have a little bit of money coming in to help to support this, especially the dump trips. Obviously, when you're talking, truckloads and truckloads of
Substantial.
trash, it gets very expensive very fast, but luckily there's so many people, individuals in this town that wanna see this town cleaned up, and they've been
Wonderful.
donating left and right towards it. I just talked to Mark, today about that, matter of fact, and we had a good conversation about this, and it's going in a good way, it really
That's
is.
great.
Who's the lead on it?
Mark Atwood,
Marcus? Okay.
yeah, he's doing a really good
Yeah,
job.
he's been here, he's come down and talked
Yep.
to us.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job, and we're finally getting a little bit more cooperation with some of these landowners.
Landowners, right.
There's been quite the challenge trying to get these landowners to recognize that they have a problem on their premises. So once we get that and actually give them a little bit of encouragement, it seems like they're now opening up a little bit more, so it's good.
Good.
But my other concern on this, and getting back to what I stated earlier, is the fire hazard that we
Fire
have to
danger.
watch out
Yeah.
for. This is
Especially as dry as
huge
it is
with the
now.
encampments that are going on and stuff, and there was, can't say that's what it was, but there's pretty good indication that up above Greenhorn area, the fire was caused from an illegal encampment, so.
In the SRA, which is in the county, right?
And they don't have a horse in the race, so they really don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yep.
if it happens, they just gotta walk away.
Yep, and that's the thing, and we just gotta be aware of it, and that's we encourage the public that if we're seeing some illegal activity of any sort, to get a hold of the local law enforcement
it
and
in.
let them know,
Right.
because we don't need to have another weed or paradise or anything else. We need to make sure that we keep our town safe, plain and simple. So, and that's about it.
Okay. Been busy, and I know that you had a homelessness coalition meeting before the last city council meeting that I missed.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this one was canceled
We
for
canceled
today.
one today, and we'll have one in August for sure.
Okay.
We just wanted to, get everything in line and not keep having meetings when there's not a lot that needs to be said and not waste everybody's time. We want to make sure that we're productive at these meetings.
Yeah, but Dwayne, you've been doing a great job with that group. So, good job.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, oh, yeah. To say the least, okay, all righty. All right, well, thank you. Well, it's been a really busy month for me, and I apologize for missing the last meeting, but I was at the Mayors and Council Members Executive Forum, and I've never been to that before, but the reason I went down there is because that's when they hold the state, the League of California Cities board meeting, and they were going to be voting on something very important that I'm going to announce in a minute, because it's all good news. So it's amazing the things, the types of information I got. One of the breakout sessions was staying strong in the face of disaster, which was really helpful. Cities that have had fire and flood and the things that you can do, and I've got that information here. Demystifying land use and planning, so that was interesting as well. And then there was one, and why you should care. I think that was part of it. And shifting sands of economic development. The name of that was Welcome to the O-Zone, and I don't know how many of you have heard about the Opportunity Zone, but the Opportunity Zone is funding. It's we have Yreka, it's one of the few cities in the North State that has an Opportunity Zone. Thanks in large part to our city manager working with our Economic Development Council. Most of the city of Yreka is in an Opportunity Zone. Now, that doesn't mean funding for the city. What that means is it's funding for business. It goes straight to the businesses. And there's ways that we can tie into that. In fact, it's such a big deal that the White House is having an Opportunity Zone briefing conference call, and I was invited to attend that on August 2nd. So that should be pretty
Excellent.
interesting at 11 o'clock, if anybody wants to sit in on that. I think that two of us can sit on it. Probably Don will tell us that. Only two could sit in the same room, right?
Actually, oh, go ahead.
Well, if nobody says anything, more can show up, but.
I think it's one of those conference calls where you listen to the
Yeah.
opportunities that are available.
So more could, I mean, you could designate two people that could pipe up if they want to, but you
Yeah.
could have more people there,
Yeah.
as long as they
Don't
just
say anything.
quietly sit
Okay.
there.
When is it?
It's going to be on August 2nd, and it's 2 o'clock Eastern time, so it'll be 11 o'clock our time.
We also have
I
sexual
know.
harassment training that
I
morning here
know.
at
I
the
was gonna
council
talk to
chamber.
Renee to see
That's
if she
right.
could end it at 11 instead of 12, because it starts at 9. So we'll see. I'm gonna talk to her about that. But the demystifying land use thing, I found out that there's 500,000. Isn't that what I said, Steve? I called Steve actually from the conference, because there's money available for planning. And this is planning for affordable housing.
Oh,
But the state never gives out money for planning. There's money available, and
Wow.
I think that we should apply for it.
oh, yes.
Yeah, we are planning to do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we've
So
talked
I'm really
already.
excited, and I wouldn't have known anything about that, but I went to that meeting, and that was one of the key things that I found out. And city finance is what you need to know. I listened on that, so Retta will be happy to know that I know a little bit more about that. And the League of California Cities at the end. I don't want to take anything away from Norm and Paul, because you guys are doing a great job on the audit committee. Audit and finance, is that what you call it?
Audit and investment.
I can never remember that. Anyway, you guys are doing a great job on that, thank you. Anyway, the League of California Cities board meeting was interesting. they go over a lot of information, but one of the key items on that, as you all know, for the last 2.5 years or more, we've been working on getting a rural cities working group, right? To get more recognition for the rural cities, to have more help with legislation that impact rural cities more than it does, you know, the metropolitan areas, to provide more information. A lot of rural cities, people can't get to Sacramento or wherever to these meetings. So what happened at the meeting was we did get it passed, all ayes. There were like 50 some odd people in the room. We made a presentation and we talked about ways that we can make this work. The League of Cities was concerned about fractioning, you know, the group, and so we talked about, they're going to charge, they're naming it the Rural Cities Information Exchange, and it's going to provide a lot of things, and it's a wonderful first step.
Yeah.
They recognized, this is the first time, I think, in the history of, no, I think once upon a time they had something called Rural Cities, I think, didn't they, Steve?
All I remember actually is them having a track
Small cities.
for small cities
Small
at
cities,
a couple of
which
the
is different than
conferences.
rural cities.
Oh, right.
Right, and anyway, it was passed, and that was such a relief. And that was the main reason that I went down. I have all of the material cannabis regulation, best practices for your cities, city finances, what you need to know, level up your leadership, mastering your role as city council member, community leader, and colleagues. And then all of the breakout sessions in here, workforce development, youth exchange. It was fascinating. My brain was about to burst. We got so much information. So I brought it all back to the city to share the parts of it that's appropriate for our city. So I'm really excited about that.
Before you go on to another subject away from League of Cities, could I ask, would council please consider allowing Joan, if she has the time, to write a small article for the newspaper stating the value of having someone go to the League of Cities and stay connected at that level, what you've brought back?
Yeah, there you go.
Because I have gotten a little bit of negativity in the last month. So I think if the community see that there's value, that we can use this to find out what's going on with the rest of the state, would council be supportive of that?
Good idea.
Okay, that'd be fine, and I can talk to Danielle about it and find out, you know, how that would work. But I would be happy to do that.
Please.
It's a lot of information, but I think that the League of Cities, you know, helps with that as well, so I can talk to them. Steve could help too, although you do.
Yeah, but like what you just said, that bring back information that Yreka can use.
Yes.
That's what Yrekans care about.
Right, well, of course they do, yeah, of course they do. But I have a philosophy that I heard many, many moons ago, and I tell you what, I've seen it come true more than once. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. In other words, if you're not at the table advocating for your city, there's other cities that are there wanting the money that would come to you or to us. And so that's what I always do. I represent us to make sure that we're getting our share and that we have the opportunity to do
Put that in the
that.
article, attribute it to Winston Churchill or something.
Pardon?
Put that in the article too, and attribute it to somebody like Sir Winston Churchill or
Sir Winston Churchill.
Mick Jagger.
Well, they're both English.
No, but I
Mother
think
Teresa.
it's a good idea, and Danielle would probably tell you that they would run it as a just a kind of a specialty piece, you know, how they do with
Guest editorials.
guest
Oh, yes,
editorial, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, that's all you get tonight.
And then you need
Okay.
Joan, you need your picture honestly, have her take your picture and put it next to it.
Oh, okay.
You know, Yreka, Mayor Yreka.
Oh,
Joan
okay.
Cruz.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Is there a
serious.
target on it?
No, yeah, I think, well, yeah.
All righty. Okay, I'll work on that, thank you. 4th of July, of course, was amazing. It was, I mean, it was spectacular. The casino did a great job on that. Tule Lake, Lola, thank you for going with me. I hope you're better. Norm was sick.
For a couple
You were
days, yeah.
busy. Debbie was sick. So I'm sorry you guys were sick. It was a really good meeting. It was in Tule Lake up at the hunting lodge.
Yes, it was good the last time we went to.
Yeah, it was really good. The hunting lodge is, what's a nice way to put this? It's a lovely hunting lodge. It's,
I believe
It's-
the term is rustic.
It's
Quaint.
rustic,
Quaint.
that's it, it's rustic
Rustic.
and quaint. It's rustic, it's from the, 50s, probably, a lot of
Was there indoor
Formica.
plumbing?
Pardon?
Indoor plumbing?
Oh, there's indoor
Yes,
plumbing, yeah.
yes, I
But
did
you all-
find,
it's
I
a
did
shared
find the bathroom.
Male,
Yes.
female, it's open.
Oh.
Mostly
Okay.
male, it's a hunting lodge. It's
Formica's
for the
in
duck
now,
hunters.
yes. Formica is, I mean, Dwayne will probably say,
Formica.
no, it's Marvel. Formica's back in.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it was lots of fun. We had a great time. Sacramento Valley Division conference call we had last week on the
Bless
8th.
you.
Siskiyou Revitalization Network, I wanted to bring you guys up to date on that. So the Siskiyou Revitalization Network has not gone away. In fact, it's gotten stronger, and we have more people involved in it. Last time we had 18 people present, and it was held here in town. We alternate between here and Reeder, Mount Shasta. And we have a work plan for the coming year, and we're going out into the communities, and Yreka has a plan. We're working with Discover Siskiyou on a plan to highlight our businesses here, and Discover Siskiyou, by the way, was there, and EDC was there working with the Siskiyou Revitalization Network. The Ford Family Foundation has offered a grant, because this is, as you would call it, an organic group. It's come together by itself. There's no funding involved in it. Just different people from the cities all over the county come together once a month to work on bettering our hometowns. And so they've offered us the Ford Family Foundation, a $25,000 grant to implement some of our ideas of things that we can do in our communities. And I've got some of the projects and ideas that came out of it, and community building grants. What is this? This is from the Ford Family Foundation. This tells you about how they're funding, how they provide the funding and how it works. Listen to learn, engage to mobilize, skill up, branch out, which we're in the process now of doing. Plan together, we're doing, create change, and then finally celebrate. So it's going. Any of you interested, I can send you information about it if you'd like to go. The next meeting's going to be in McLeod.
Okay.
Yes, it's gonna be at the Axe and Rose in McLeod, at the, right next to the McLeod Hotel.
Nice.
So it should be nice. We haven't been to McLeod yet, and they're very proud of the work that they've done there. So I think I'm almost done. LTC, we had a local transportation commission meeting and found out that our executive director resigned.
Oh, wow.
She didn't resign from the county though, she just moved to a different department.
Oh.
So they're looking for a contractor, so any of you that know someone that has expertise in transportation, funding, grant writing, as well as implementation, please let us know, we're looking for somebody now. I've been to numerous ringing pool grant meetings with Cindy. Cindy and I have been. Steve has been on occasion, he's going next week, I think, and I'll be there next week, next Tuesday
Matt's
as well.
been.
Matt goes from time to time, I think a lot of the internal ones, and we've had some of those here, as well as external. And then how many of you went to the grand reopening of the Elks Lodge? How many of you even knew about it?
I didn't know about it.
Okay,
I'm not
it
an
was
elk.
last Saturday,
Was
and
it?
it was really, really nice. Yeah, they're really fixing things up in the Elks. So there was more, but that's kind of enough. That's kind of enough. It's been really, really busy, and just to let you know, my husband is doing so much better.
Good.
So life is good.
Good.
Excellent.
So, anything else from anybody? Otherwise, we will adjourn to, we've
Closed
got a
session.
closed session.
Yes.